Hey boys and girls, Ken Smith, KenSmithFishing.com. Saturday, March 30th. As you know, we are not down there this week, but I want to give you a Rayburn report from folks that are on the water as we speak. And also behind this is going to be my thoughts on the rumor mill surrounding the purchase of FLW. And I'll talk more about that after we get this fishing report in. So right now on the water is the Stan Berge Memorial Tournament. There's actually several tournaments right now. I think there's a, let me look here, today is the 30th. There's a Fisher's a Min, there's a Media Bass, there's Stan Berge's tournament, which is a memorial tournament. We lost Stan a few years ago, great guy. And there's a Team Elite tournament, and then tomorrow is the Outlaw Outdoors Sweet 16 Championship, and then of course there's a Sunday night Poor Man's Tournament as well. So that's what's going on at Rayburn right now. What I am hearing is the fishing is actually good. There's a lot of bites to be had. There's a ton of fish shallow. It sounds like some of the guys that have been catching some big fish up shallow, those fish have backed off, which is probably a result of this front rolling in. I have heard that the bite is picked up above the 147 bridge significantly. As you know, if you watch my videos, I've really struggled to get bit up there basically all spring, and it sounds like that is changing, and that's changing fast. The baits I'm still hearing mostly about lots and lots of Senko bites, lots of little lizard pitching around the bushes. Again, I'm still hearing more guys fishing, and I'm air quotes, around the bushes than actually down in the bushes. I don't know why that is, but that's what I'm hearing. Probably as much as anything because a lot of those bushes are real shallow, and when you get up close enough to pitch to them, you may be spooking fish out of them. That's just what comes to my mind when I hear stuff like that. The FLW tour event's going on right now at Grand. It is brutal today, and I got to say, so my buddy Dickie Newberry whacked him the first day. He was in 6th place, and yesterday I watched that stupid live leaderboard, and as the day progressed and he didn't have a fish, I got sicker and sicker and sicker to my stomach. For him, I've been there, we've all been there, and the one thing, so I was talking to his wife during the day, the one thing that is his advantage is he's done this a really long time, and I've fished with him a really long time. And he will get mad, but he will not spin out. He does not quit mentally. And so trust me when I tell you that one fish he weighed yesterday was a really hard fish to catch. And my heart goes out to him. And I watched it all day. I just kept thinking, knowing him, he was going to roll up on a group of fish, and he was going to weigh something, and he didn't. And buddy, your time's coming out there because I fished with you, and I know how you process fishing and how you think about it. And it's, a lot of those guys out there, it's funny, are thrilled to get a check. And when I talked to Dickie yesterday, I said, "Did you get a check?" He goes, "Yeah." He ain't out there to get checks. That guy wants to win, and there's several of those guys out there. I know Billy McGaffrin made the cut. Congratulations on that, Billy. I think our old buddy Nick from LeBrun from Louisiana, I believe Nick also made the cut. I think Matt Reed made the cut, so congratulations, Matt, up there as well. Let's talk about what's coming up on Rayburn. By the way, Big Bass Splash, I know a lot of the guys watch my videos are coming for that. As soon as I get back from vacation next week, I'm going to post the baits I personally think you need to bring, not to catch a bunch of fish, but to catch big fish, to win big money in that tournament. And I think I am going to fish that tournament, by the way. I think we're going to fish that just for grins, and truthfully, because one bite is a lot of money. It's a relatively expensive entry fee if you fish all 3 days in my mind, but a lot of money on the line, so I think we're going to fish that. So next weekend, which will be April 6th, will be the Bass Champs Tournament Saturday. Kevin hopefully will be back in time to fish that on his own. We've paid our entry fee. And then there's a Deep East Texas High School Qualifier Tournament that looks like number 7 on Saturday as well. So there'll be a lot of boats on the lake Saturday. Sunday, Anglers Quest Individual Tournament, run by a very nice lady. Back the Blue Tournament. Looks like there'll be a benefit tournament there. And by the way, I'm getting all this off of the Outlaw Outdoors. They post a great fishing calendar. And then, and so it's just fishoutlawoutdoors.com is where you can find that. And then the Sunday evening Poor Man's Tournament. And then, of course, there's the Tuesday night tournament this weekend, all the weeks through the summer. And then there's a Thursday evening tournament on Rayburn as well. Again, if you want to fish one of those, you can find them all here. So Again, fishing report is lots of small fish. I still bet it takes a big stringer to fit to win Rayburn today, just because there's so many big fish shallow. If I were down there today or tomorrow or next week, I would stay pretty shallow. Although I'm sure you can still catch a few fish out deep, probably catch a big stringer out deep. The girls right now are thinking about having babies, and so that pushes them shallow and makes them real accessible for most of us. So that's our Rayburn fishing report this week. I'm also going to pop a video up later this week, I hope. I've gotten a lot of questions about being a co-angler. I've never been one, but obviously I've had co-anglers in my boat a lot. So things to do, things not to do. And also I've had several questions. When do you think I should quit being a co-angler and get in the front of the boat? So I'll get that video posted up, and hopefully you enjoy that as well. I want to talk about a post I made on the Texas Fishing Forum based on some rumors that had been bouncing around for a while and really came kind of to a fevered pitch this week, from my understanding, from 4 different sources at the Grand Tournament, the FLW Tour event up there, and this is pure rumor, but you know, where there's smoke, usually there's fire, and the smoke is that FLW has been purchased, and what I have heard from a couple of different sources now is that the deal was struck somewhere around the time of the Classic, and there's a handshake done, and probably some due diligence going on now. We won't hear any announcement about this, I don't think, for probably a couple of months, but it's a really interesting thing to me, and I have been concerned, and I have talked a little bit about my feeling that FLW was in trouble. And my gripe for a couple of years now has been that I feel like FLW has lost sight of who their customer is, because I think they think their customer are their sponsors, and in fact their customer has historically been me. You know, I have fished the Costas and the BFLs for a number of years, and this is the first year I elected not to fish the Costas, and the reason is this. For the second year in a row, they increased the entry fees, and basically they increased the entry fee about 25% over the last 2 years, with no corresponding increase in their payout. It's let me throw some numbers at you. So a guy posted a message when they first came out with their entry fees this year on Texas Fishing Forum, and I obviously I post on the Fishing Forum, and I read quite a bit of material on there. And his take on it, actually, let me share the numbers, because I went back and I ran my own numbers. So here they are. So the numbers are this. At the BFL level, there are 120 tournaments, and let's just assume they can average 175 fishermen, which probably is not too far off what they average. I know they have some tournaments they don't get near that number, but then they have some they get 200. And you basically figure on the pro side, they've over the last 2 years taken the entry fees from $230 to $300, and on the co-angler side from $115 to $150. And if you do all that math, in 2017, 120 tournaments, 175 fishermen on each side. The increase in their total revenue for 2017 from the BFLs was about $7.2 million. On the Costa side, you got 3 divisions. Excuse me, you have 5 divisions. You have 3 tournaments per division. The pros, they raised the entry fee from $1,600 to $1,900. The co-anglers from $550 to $650. In 2017, their revenue from the Costa's entry fees alone, forget sponsorship and everything else they get from their boat manufacturers and their motors and Humminbird and everybody else, that revenue was about $5.6 million. If you tack on that increase in entry fees across both of those divisions, over the last 2 years, they've increased the entry fees about $2.2 million across all the BFLs, and a little bit over $1 million on the Costas. That takes them from about $12.8 million of revenue strictly off their entry fees to, gosh, is that right? 3.2, 13, $16 million. That's a straight up 25% increase. And I know they will argue that they've increased the paybacks at the regionals and at the All-American and at the Costa Championship. I did that math as well, and it is a tiny, tiny increase. It's just not there. that suggests to me a company that was doing one of two things: either really struggling, which um, if you look at the history, it wasn't too many years ago. There was, you name it, Walmart and Land O'Lakes and all these endemic and non-endemic sponsors that were stepping up there, and those are all gone to a large. Most of them are gone now. Folgers was another one that sponsored them, and I think they have really, really struggled. And then you pile on to the fact that not all, but a lot of their top tier fishermen left them with the invent of the new tour this year. And um, I just see that as a tournament circuit that's struggling. Or that tells me that's a company that's positioning themselves to be sold. You usually want to start positioning your company to be sold at least 3 years prior to sell the company. But my guess is, because of some other things that have happened in the industry, I think that timeline got moved up. So companies sell based upon something called EBITDA, which basically is earnings before taxes. So the way you increase, and a company is usually sold on a multiple of that, a 3 multiple, a 5 multiple, a 10 multiple. So for example, the way you control your earnings is you either increase your revenue or you do decrease your cost, or ideally you do both. Well, guess a really good way to increase your revenue is to increase your entry fees in the case of a bass fishing tournament. So to me, it seems like they started bumping these entry fees with the idea that either they were struggling and they had to do that to their anglers, or they were thinking about selling this company at some point in the very near future. If you increase your entry fees by the 25%, and by the way, those are all just my projections, but I suspect I'm not terribly far off on those projections. And you control your bottom line, you control your expenses, which controls your bottom line, which is exactly what they've done, right? They've increased their revenue, but they've really not increased what they're paying out. So all they've done is they've increased their EBITDA, if you will. And if they're able to sell that company at a 5 EBITDA or a 7 EBITDA, if they were making $3 million a year, guys, I have no idea, but let's make it easy. Say they were making $5 million a year and they sell it at a 5 EBITDA, FLW was worth $25 million. If they sold it if it was suddenly worth $7 million in EBITDA because you increased your revenue, it's now worth $35 million. So it felt to me like, even when they started doing this, either they were struggling and they needed the revenue, which, by the way, and I want to go on record on this, they run a great circuit. Several guys, friends of mine, work for them. I don't expect them to give me a 95% payout. I know somebody beat up on them on the Amstead Costa event that the payout was something around 60%. They got staff, they got good staff. They have trailers they have to pull down there. They have all these other expenses. But on the other side of that coin, I can also make the argument is that's why there's all those flags and banners of all their sponsors to help them offset those costs. I do believe, and if you look at most of our local tournaments, which also have staffs that they use, my sense is a tournament circuit should be at least an 80% payout between their tournaments and their championships. There was a day, those of you who've been tournament fishing for a long time, where most championships were non-entry fee championships. Pretty much everybody anymore, the championship's just another tournament where they throw some additional money in the pot, and they also get you for your $25 or $35 membership fee, which, by the way, we didn't include the membership fee in all those calculations we just ran. I actually don't even remember now what I pay every year, but across 125, 140 tournaments at the BFL and the coastal level, there's no telling how many thousands of fishermen that is that also pay them an entry fee every year. So that's what makes me think this was either a company that's in trouble or a company that was positioning themselves to be sold for whatever reason. And I think the advent of the Bass Pro Tour accelerated their need, or it either accelerated their need to sell this company, and I'm again assuming that it has been sold, which is a great big assumption, or it accelerated, a viable buyer came to market to them in the person that we, of Boyd Duckett and or the group that he probably represents. I doubt that that's just a Boyd Duckett thing, but I think Boyd is an incredibly sharp businessman and probably would be leading the charge on something like this if something like this were to happen. You'll probably notice that Stone and I both had wardrobe changes. I'm sort of piecing this together up in the evening. And so basically those struggles, and not specifically their struggles, their increase of the entry fees without a corresponding increase in payout bumped me out from a circuit that I've enjoyed fishing for a lot of years, that being the Costas, and frankly, well, I've had problems with fishing the BFLs as well. And the only reason I really decided to fish the BFLs this year was my team partner went and fished the FLWs, and it left me without really much to do. Now, Kevin and I have decided to fish the rest of Bass Champs together this year and fish that championship, but I fished the BFLs only to have something to do in the fall to go to the regionals. So I've been disappointed in how I have been treated, not me specifically, but me as an angler, us as anglers, by the FLW organization. Full play broke out over the last couple of years, so that's my point there. So back to the rumor. If you don't know anything about Boyd Duckett, there's a great article, I think it's called the Shreveport Times. It was posted a few years ago. And the guy, according to the article, dropped out of school around the 11th grade, went to work, I think, turning wrenches. And by the age of 22, had put $60,000 in savings. And went and bought a company, and I'm not sure that the first company, but the company that I think he bought was repairing tanker trucks, cleaning and repairing tanker trucks. I believe that's correct. But if you read that article, it's really interesting. That guy has now bought and sold several companies. He's been in the catfish business. He was part of a management group that in Nashville that managed Tim McGraw, according to the article. This guy has done a lot of things and done them really well. And I will tell you, if this rumor is true, I really welcome this rumor. If you go back and read why, so he was one of the original founders of Major League Fishing. I don't know, I know it was he and Gary Klein that really sort of took the reins of this. And the idea and the quote that I read that Duckett said was, the Bassmasters and the FLW Tour, the best fishermen live off the worst fishermen. And trust me, on the PGA Tour, the number one player does not live off the number 125 player. The number one player lives off all the corporate sponsorships that they get. And he didn't see that happening in the fishing world. And so that's what caused them to start Major League Fishing, and they have been successful with it. You've also heard me talk about, I will watch it. But if I have on my DVR the ability to watch a Bassmasters tournament or to watch a Major League Fishing tournament, I will watch the Bassmasters first every single time. I find it more compelling. I have not watched any of the live footage. I probably will at some point. But again, I'm not just a fan of the format right now. I think it will evolve. And I think this may be, if he has in fact bought FLW, I think we're going to see it possibly become that feeder circuit that they need. And I think we'll continue to see that circuit and probably all circuits continue to morph into new and different things. What I am most excited about is, I don't know the management of FLW, Kathy Fennell being, I think, the president, but I do know that, pretty sure she's never fished a tournament. And I'm pretty sure most of the guys above tournament directors, I think most of the tournament directors are big outdoorsmen and love to fish and hunt, but I think most of the C-suite probably aren't. And I always think back to being a kid. I was a pretty good basketball player, and and baseball player, and I was a pretty good athlete. But you remember having the coach of the team that had never played that sport, and how different that practice was than it was once you got in junior high school and high school and started playing for your sports teams where the coach was a former player. It's a different deal. And so I think if Boyd Duckett and or other historic tournament fishermen or outdoorsmen start running a circuit, it will look different, it will feel different, and they will act different. So I think if this rumor is true, it may have some short-term negative impacts, but I think, and it may not, it may all be positive going forward. I'm excited about it. I hope there's some truth to it. And that, yeah, I guess that is a knock on the current FLW people, but and probably a knock on the current people running Bassmasters. But that's the truth. You guys, in my opinion, lost sight of my best interest as your customer, and I think you paid a price for it, and a lot of the guys leaving you. By the way, I think I would love to have the old doodle poll where guys can respond without really being anonymous. I'll bet you of the 100+ guys that have jumped over and are fishing Major League Fishing or whatever they're calling, I guess the Bass Pro Tour now, and Sammy agrees, I bet a lot of those guys regret that decision now. It was really interesting watching the Classic and some of the reactions to some of those guys, and this is not my last Classic, and that really suggests to me that some guys are having some buyer's remorse on making that jump. But we'll see. You know, who knows what that messaging was when they got those guys to jump over to that tour. It may have been, trust us, there's more to come. A good friend of mine in Houston pointed something out that I didn't catch that I thought was really interesting. Trent said, you know, it's funny when the Bass Pro Tour announced, Bassmasters sort of immediately reacted to it, but there were very tight lips at FLW. They didn't say very much. And that's interesting to me, and he's correct. They didn't say much. So this may have been in the works for quite a long time now. There may have been discussions for a long time about what was going to happen with these tours possibly coming together. So that's my 2 cents on it. I just thought that would be interesting for you guys, or at least it will spark some discussion. I would love to hear your comments below. And remember, so above up here, let's see, which side would that be? It's on this side, I think. This side maybe. That is where you get all of my Rayburn fishing reports. That link right there will take you to all of my 2019 fishing reports. I've also got a number of other fun playlists. I've got map tips on there. I know a lot of you guys are coming to Rayburn in the next few weeks for the big bass splash, which there's crazy money in that this year. I probably will fish that just because one fish can make a dent on your balance sheet at this point if you catch the right fish out there. I mean, my buddy Clint last year won a boat in that tournament, won a lot of money. So if you guys are coming down, I've got something coming for you. It'll be up as soon as we are back from vacation, which will be about a week and a half from today. For the baits I think you guys need to be bringing down for that tournament and where to get them. So I think you'll enjoy that, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the lake in the next few weeks once we get back down there. Thanks, guys.